Have you ever heard the story about the young minister right out of a fancy seminary who wrote a fantastic sermon on humility? It was his first sermon, and he was eager for a large, attentive audience to hear what he had put together. He'd done so much work on this masterpiece of a sermon that he was so full of himself. He stepped up to the pulpit with tremendous confidence. His shoulders were back, his chin held high. He's Mr. Big Shot. Heck, he's going to get a round of applause for this sermon. But once up there, he completely blanked out and couldn't think of a single thing. He scrambled through his notes, but just couldn't grasp the footing he imagined he would. Finally, he stepped down from the pulpit, utterly humiliated. All he wanted to do was get out of there without making eye contact with anyone. As he slumped down the steps, an old preacher turned to him and said, "Young man, if you'd have gone up the way you came down, you'd have come down the way you went up." If you'd have gone up the way you came down, you'd have come down the way you went up.
All right.
In today's text, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem and has been invited to yet another fancy dinner party. He's made quite a name for himself, so people like having him on his guest list. But also, they want to see if they can trip him up. The text begins by saying, on one occasion when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees to eat a meal on the Sabbath, they were watching him closely. At this dinner party, these religious leaders had done everything right. The meal wasn't cooked on the Sabbath, it was cooked the day before. But strategically, in comes a sick man. Now, just prior to this text, Jesus had just healed a woman on the Sabbath and had already made the point that helping a fellow child of God when they need it is more important than keeping a law. Here, he's put into the same position again and is once again frustrated. Instead of cross-examining Jesus, he starts cross-examining them, and no one dares speak. And with that, Jesus heals the man. And this all brings us into today's reading. When he noticed how the guests chose their place of honor, he told them a parable. Yes, they invited him there to watch him closely, but he was also watching them and was not happy with what he saw. Now let's be honest for a moment. Jesus does not always make for the most fun dinner guest. This is just one of the many texts where Jesus is invited to a meal and ends up revealing to the other people their own shortcomings that are keeping them from a pure relationship from God. In fact, it only seems like the time when Jesus goes to a meal and simply enjoys the company he's with is when he's breaking bread with those who aren't normally invited elsewhere. The tax collectors, the prostitutes, the poor, and those with disabilities. Which begs today's question, with how we live here and now, how we treat those around us, how we treat ourselves, do we actually want Jesus as our dinner guest?
Uh-oh.
If you've ever worked in customer service, you may know about mystery shoppers. A mystery shopper is usually someone from corporate who shows up to one of their chain locations, acting as if they're just any typical customer, in order to see how employees are performing. Afterwards, they send a report to the managers of that particular store. Imagine for a moment that Jesus was a mystery shopper here today this morning. And yes, I know that God is always here with us. But I mean, just any old guy who walked through the doors like a local searching for a new church home, stepping back and people watching. He heard that put down that was said behind someone else's back, waited to see if anyone would greet him, watched to see where each of us sat. Think for a moment if it's possible that Jesus might reveal his identity to us, reveal that he's not actually a shopper but the boss, and figuratively, or maybe even literally, tell us to change our seat. Maybe give us a not-so-flattering mystery shopper report. So what do we do about that? Here in this text, Jesus illustrates a need for humility. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down in a place of honor, in case someone more distinguished than you is invited by your host. And the host who invited you both may come to you and say, "Give this person your place." And then in disgrace, you have to take the lowest place, But when you are invited, go and sit down in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you.
Amen.
The kind of seating arrangement that Jesus is talking about here is most likely of a U shape, with the host sitting at the middle or the top of the U. This is very common in Palestine at the time. And the best spot for a guest was at their right hand. Next would be their left hand, and it would go back and forth until you reach the end of the table. So what he's saying here is stop rushing for the right hand of the host, but pick the last seat all the way at the end on the left. But humility is a tricky line, right? It's not a characteristic that can authentically be put on a job application under strengths. Once you start feeling like you're humble, you're already not. What is even being asked of us? To go sit on the floor, venerate everyone above us, hoping that some of their crumbs will fall to feed us humble sinners? Is that really what it means to be a true Christ follower? No. To be the guest that Christ is calling us to be in this passage, the first point that we need to understand is that humility is not low self-esteem. What's the old quote? On the highest throne in the world, we still only sit on our bottom. In this text, where Christ is challenging people to live more humbly, he's not telling them that they shouldn't like themselves or they shouldn't have confidence in the things that they're good at. Humility is even defined simply as a modest opinion of one's own importance or rank. It's not, "You're a worm, go sit with the worms." It's to say that if sitting in the lowest spot is telling your neighbors, the other guests, that you find them to be worthy and have value, that you regard others highly as other images of God, why would we not be fighting over that last chair? Perhaps by sitting in that last chair, you're making a statement of praise over someone's work, someone who's never heard that before, someone who so desperately needs that message today. Poet Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "A great man is always willing to be little." To be so desperate for immediate recognition and high status, for something that could profit ourselves, is in contradiction of what could be an opportunity for compassion. To show that we don't need others to see what an honorable chair we have, because we have trust in God and in the grace and glory that is offered to us through the resurrection.
Amen.
Theologian Desmond Tutu once said, "Arrogance really comes from insecurity. And in the end, our feeling that we are bigger than others is really the flip side of us feeling that we are smaller than others." When we fight for that top spot to be seen as more important or to receive praise for something we did, what is that saying about our faith? What insecurities about our own trust in God are we trying to cover up? It has been said that from lowliness springs gratitude. We have already been offered grace. Why do we also need the top chair? By taking that low chair, recognizing God's grace that lives in others, we can express our thanks to God for our blessings. There's an Arabian proverb that translates to, "Arrogance diminishes wisdom." Over in Greece, at the Academy of Athens, the boys would have 3 years of schooling. The first year, they were called the wise men. The second year, they were called those who loved wisdom. And in their third and final year of schooling, they were simply called the learners. The more you know, the more you realize that you know nothing. By proving we're better than someone else, what does that say to others about what we don't know about God? I was warned when I first went to seminary, there's a lot of flexers, people who want to prove their superiority over you right from the beginning. Remember that they're not smarter than you, not more fit for ministry just because they can name drop a bunch of theologians or talk about the eschatological hermeneutics of the blah, 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 blah.
That too.
But it's tough though, right? To sit in a class knowing that a handful of classmates don't even think I should be there because I'm female, are shocked they didn't test out of intro classes or that I can't conjugate Greek vowels, to try not to feel the need to prove that I'm just some actress who decided out of the blue to go to seminary, by reading a ton of books to try to one-up my colleagues and try to vie for that best seat. It's tough to keep reminding myself, I know and understand my calling. If they need to flex, they're probably insecure about something else. They can't take my calling away from me. That's tough, but faith-solidifying work.
Amen.
Author Christy Hartman once said, "Don't confuse confidence with arrogance. Arrogance is being full of yourself, feeling that you're always right, and believing your accomplishments or your abilities make you better than other people." People often believe arrogance is excessive confidence, but it's really a lack of confidence. Arrogant people are insecure and often repel others. Truly confident people feel good about themselves and attract others to them. Where we sit says something about our faith. Is it attracting others to us or repelling them? Which brings me to my next point. We should change our party invitations from private to public. Jesus ends his parable by saying, "For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." And this sounds kind of familiar, right? The first will be last and the last will be first. It comes right from the chapter before this. Those who show kindness towards others, show love for their neighbor, will be given honor, not those who try to take honor. Which leads right into the next section of text. Jesus has not only been watching how the guests sat, but also what the hosts have done. He said to those who had invited him, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors, in case they might invite you in return and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteousness." There are many texts in Scripture about giving to the poor and helping those with disabilities. But notice here, it's not about meeting the basic physical needs of others. It's not just throwing some change into a bucket or building a ramp out front of a building. These things are important, but aren't what Jesus is asking of people here. He's telling the hosts that they have a responsibility in all this, a responsibility in a place of privilege they have to really create a space of fellowship, to also create access for spiritual nourishment to those who often get passed by or just pitied. Those who people just say, "How could they want more? I donated some canned goods. How greedy can they be? I already gave them what they need." Author Steve Goodyear offers this reflection. "Several years ago, an older friend of mine developed Alzheimer's disease. Bill had lived an active and productive professional life, but in his later years, his wife cared for him at home. He was aware of his increasing dependency on her and of the debilitating effect of the disease on his mind. Bill gave up everything he had ever done for himself until eventually nothing was left. As his mind suffered, his sense of worthiness also took a beating. He felt as if he were nobody. There was one group to which he belonged that decided to stay with him during his decline. He sat on the University of Denver Board of Trustees and was encouraged by them to continue to attend meetings as long as he was able. One of the board members would drive Bill to the meetings and brought him back home afterwards. This continued even after he had lost his ability to remember names, track a conversation, or participate in any meaningful way. His wife knew that he remained a board member in name only, and that their decision to include him was solely out of compassion. But Bill seemed to really enjoy himself at the meetings, and she reasoned that they were probably good for him. After he returned from one such meeting of the trustees, his wife asked him, "Did you have a good meeting, Bill?" He thought about it for a moment before replying. Then he answered quite honestly, "I don't know." And after a pause, however, he added this heartfelt comment, "But they still think I'm a pupil." To them, he was somebody. To them, he mattered. He was still a person of value and worth. He could no longer read or write or do any of the things that were important to him earlier, but he was still a people. This day, somebody needs to know from each of us that they're a people. When we invite those to the table who usually aren't invited, and then offer them the top chair, just imagine for a moment what that says. What that says about the inclusivity of God's grace and the way we as Christians can be a witness to that. Which brings me to my third and final point. It may be time that we learn some new table manners. What's being asked of us here is to humble ourselves down to recognize that how we speak, what we do, where we sit, affects those around us. There's an old saying that the entrance to heaven is so low that one can only enter on their knees. Here in this text, Jesus uses a wedding banquet as an example on purpose. Weddings were often compared between God's kingdom and heaven, a marriage between Christ and the church. This is kingdom talk. Christ is saying that these guests are playing by a set of cultural rules and regulations, while the laws of heaven are of a complete reversal. He is challenging them to think about their actions here and now. Start practicing kingdom table manners now, or they're in for quite a shock when the person that they may give up a seat for them, or perhaps they didn't even invite, is invited to sit at the right hand of the host, while they're told to sit in the restful chair by the bathroom. How is where you're sitting a witness to God's kingdom here on earth? Is there a seat change you can make that could bring others closer to God? English pastor F.B. Meyer once said, "I used to think that God's gifts were on shelves one above the other, and the taller that we grew in Christian character, the easier that we could reach them. I now find that God's gifts are on shelves one beneath one another, and that it is not a question of growing taller, but stooping down lower, and that we have to go down, always down, to get his best gifts." Try going up the way you usually go down. See everyone you meet as a people, and grab yourself the last chair. It's only proper manners. Let us now celebrate the sacrament of our Lord. Would you please turn to the order of communion?